Welcome to Miniatures Rundown. I'm Kevin, and I hate elves.
Hey, that's not nice.
Welcome to Miniatures Rundown. I'm Kevin, and today we're joined by Cheryl.
Hello.
Today we're taking Techlist to task and picking our top 5 Lumineth Realmlords Warscrolls. So you play a lot of Lumineth Realmlords. You've played them since they came out as a new army for Age of Sigmar, and you love elves.
I do. Elves are amazing.
Elves are awful.
No, they're wonderful.
So, thought we'd bring you in today to kind of go over these Warscrolls for the brand new Battletome, because this is a really powerful Battletome, and it's really deviated. They've changed how the army works quite a bit from previous iterations of this army.
They have.
So, thought we'd bring you in to go over what we think are our top 5 Warscrolls.
Okay, sounds great.
Starting us off at number 5 is the Venari Alarian Sentinels. So the Sentinels are the archers for the Lumineth Realmlords, and archers, of course, are a very iconic part of an elven army. So in editions past, the Venari Sentinels have been a terror on the battlefield, formerly being able to deliver ranged mortal wounds and being able to fire out of line of sight and with a really ridiculous range. Now with the new character of how this current edition is going, it's obviously not like they're not quite have that same identity anymore. But what brings them into the number 5 spot for you?
I still think even though they've lost the power of Haish for the mortals, they still get the extended range at the cost of -1 to hit. But if you layer your battle scriptures correctly, that's not as much of a penalty. And so they can still shoot, 18 inches plus 6 is 24?
Yep.
24 inches, still rather reliably without having to spend command points to offset the -1 to hit, especially once you hit your zenith. And if you're doing it well, turn 3, turn 4, if you have Techlist on the board, they become very strong both in your shooting phase and your opponent's shooting phase. So there's still nothing to snuff at, despite the fact that they've lost power of Aish and line of sight.
Right. And I mean, it's still at 18-inch range without the buff, and then they still move 6 inches. So really, it's a 30-inch threat range for
Correct.
the unit. And they're a 10 elf unit that can be reinforced up to 20, correct?
Yes.
So that's 41 shots that you're looking at with this unit.
Yes.
And so that's a lot of, and with crit auto wound. So
yeah, crit auto wound is huge. You run that 6, and if you're zenith, you crit on 5, so it makes it even more powerful.
So you're doing a lot, and they have built in. They have rend 1 already, which is having any kind of rend at range is really strong, and that volume of shots with rend is really, really nice.
Yes.
So I mean, the only thing that they lack, of course, is that they're really squishy.
Yeah, but you try and back them up by keeping them back behind your lines with the range, so the enemy can't get to them immediately.
Yeah.
And you hopefully have wizard nearby, and they can cast a 5 upward around them for the spell to help mitigate a little bit of that.
Okay, well that makes a lot of sense. All right. So that's the Alarian Sentinels coming in at our number 5 spot, and I think that's a worthy place for them to be. They've been in terror for a while, and I think they're still going to be a really strong unit in this current Battletome. So speeding in at 4th place, we have Severith, Lord of the Seventh Wind. A really long and dumb name for a dumb elf thing.
It's high and mighty and fast. Titles are important.
So the infamous foxes of the Lumineth. Once again, this is the theme of things being a terror on the battlefield of Lumineth, and that's just because that's how Lumineth have been for the entirety of their existence in the Age of Sigmar.
As they should be.
Great. And so this fox, of course, is no different. So what makes this fox come into the number 4 spot?
Being a hero, he's able to hand out extra instance of the battle scripture, particularly the Rune of Wind one, which helps him be more mobile, and units near him too. The other thing is he can move and shoot in both your phase and if you unleash hell, which can be really tricky to nail him down for your enemy. So you can get him up there, do some damage, and tuck him away in a corner for some safety, and then still prop his rampage ability to do immortal wounds and essentially just bubble around him. So he can still hide around like a corner, a little bit poking out, and still do damage, mortal wounds in the combat phase without putting himself in too much danger of being able to get up there and shoot and then back away.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, his move is incredible. It's an 18-inch move.
Oh yeah, he's super fast.
Yeah, with a 4-up save and a 5-up ward. So not super squishy. I mean, still 10 wounds. So like we're talking like he can still take a hit and still keep going. And the big thing, of course, though, is like his attack profile is incredible for a range attack. He has shoot in combat with his bow, and 4 shots with a 2-up, 3-up, 3 rend at range with 3 flat damage.
Yes, he's going to be a speedy menace on the table and hard to pin down.
Really incredible profile. Obviously his melee is not all that great. Hits on 2s, wounds on 4s, no rend, 1 damage. Not so special.
That's not his job.
But that's not what he's there for. I mean, he shoots in combat and he moves around the board really quickly. I mean, 18-inch move is... I don't know if there's anything else in the game that naturally just moves 18 inches.
I don't think so. Not without run and enhancements. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's nothing that has an 18-inch move characteristic, which is so that's incredible. And I mean, it's still better than previous iterations of this model where he was able to move in really annoying ways for your opponent not to be able to interact with him at all. And so
yeah, it's toned down a little bit from that.
Yeah, but he's still really strong.
Mm-hmm.
So I expect to see this fox some more. Great.
Well,
you don't play, but you don't like the wind stuff.
No,
so.
I prefer the traditional Venari look.
Yeah,
that aesthetic appeals to me better.
I will have to deal with it less than I would normally, but Severith is really strong, and I think that he definitely earns a number 4 spot here, and I think that's a worthy place for him to be. I do not look forward to seeing him on the table, and I hate him.
You're a dwarf. You hate all elves, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, that's because elves are stupid.
We are not.
All right. So, with that, writing himself in at number 3 is a Cenari Caligrave. The Cenari Caligrave has kind of always had different kind of roles, and in this one, of course, he seems to have found a real home with the core mechanics of Lumineth with the battle scripture. So a pretty standard wizard profile. He's about, at the time of this recording, 130 points for a wizard, with the very standard wizard profile. So pretty squishy, not great in combat. So what's special about him?
Well, what's amazing about the Caligrave is that once per battle, he can help change your previous scripture for you, which is huge. If you have a turn that doesn't go quite as planned, or your opponent has done something completely unexpected, you can use the Caligrave to help get you back on track where you need to be to line up and stack your scriptures to help you more. And that is hugely powerful. And then being a Wizard 1 with how strong the Lumineth spell lures are, just adding that extra bonus is really, really helpful too.
Now, it's worth pointing out at the time of this recording that the Battletome and the app do not agree on this ability. The app has it as once per turn, and the book has it as once per battle.
I think once per battle.
I think once per battle is the correct one. I don't believe they did a stealth update for the Caligrave. I think once per turn would be really silly.
There would be too much movement and changing.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that being able to change your battle scripture, because changing your battle scripture, it impacts everything else that happens going forward in your battle scripture. So being able to kind of turn on a dime and change your tactics up if something either unexpected happens or if the game just isn't going the way you want, and you can try a different angle and it doesn't cost you anything. You still have a wizard, so you're still getting the utility of the wizard.
Correct. And
you just have this in your pocket to be able to change that on a whim.
It's hugely helpful. And the scriptures, as they stack, get incredibly powerful, and if you miss one early turn, you go, oh shoot, I forgot to stack this properly, you can go ahead and fix that. So it's excellent utility there.
Yeah, I think that's a really, despite the fact that his high heels are dumb and weird elf stuff.
Fashionable. You're just jealous because of the runes here are better than your dwarven runes.
Look, I am not thrilled that elves got runes before we got GTA 6, but here we are. In all honesty though, like, besides him being a pretty standard squishy wizard, like that, you can hide him pretty well. He's a good candidate to go into the terrain feature.
Oh, he's excellent to be the guardian for the tower. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's once again just really good. Like there's tons of great stuff in this book, and it's really hard to, like, picking a top 5 for this book is really hard because there's so much going on and there's so many great Warscrolls, and but I think I think being able to change your battle scripture, like being able to interact and modify the core mechanics of your army, is really, really strong.
Yes.
and it gives you an out if something doesn't go your way. Because after all, it is a dice game. So,
Absolutely. We've all been there.
Yeah. So I think that's, once again, I think that's a good pick for number 3. Teleporting into the number 2 spot is the Light of Eltharion.
He's amazing and so much fun.
I hate this elf. For the Light of Eltharion, he is, of course, he's a callback to the old world, because he was a elf in the time of the old world, in the world that was, and Teclis tried to bring him back and messed it up.
Correct.
What we have here is basically Eltharion's animated armor that goes where it deems itself necessary to be on the battlefield.
He's super smart.
And I don't know about smart. Teclis did screw him up.
No, Eltharion, not Teclis.
Okay, well, Teclis is also stupid, but but Eltharion is like, this war scroll very much performs how this model looks, and I think that is a really cool aspect of this stupid elf. But what makes you think that he belongs in the number 2 spot?
I think the fact that he can teleport every combat phase around the board to where he's needed, provided he is not in combat and something else in the Lumineth army is in combat, is absolutely amazing. He can be in the corner of the field somewhere off in La La Land and suddenly be in the thick of the battle, which makes it really hard for your opponent to anticipate it. Now, he doesn't have very many wounds. The 4-up save does help counter that a little bit.
A 4-up board.
4-up board, yeah, thank you. 4-up board helps counter the act a little bit. So you have to be picky and choosy on which combats he does decide to engage. But I think if you run him up alongside a squad of wardens or some other strong melee unit and use the battle formation where you're fighting twice in a row, that really amplifies well with Eltharion, because you can get a 1-2 punch before your opponent can clap back and help hurt him back. He only has 7 wounds and a 3-up armor save, but the 4-up board save goes a lot. And he's just so much fun to teleport around the board. It's just enjoyable.
Well, he's got a billion attacks.
Yeah, he's gonna slice and dice.
Because even his ranged weapons are shooting combat with 3 attacks, 2s and 3s, Ren 2, D3 damage with shooting combat. Very strong. His Fang Sword, crit 2 hits with 5 attacks, 2s and 3s, Ren 3.
Yes.
Damage 3.
And there are crit mortals in there also?
There's crit 2
crit 2 hits, my bad. Crit 2 hits.
And then his little dagger is 2 attacks, 2s and 3s, 1 rend, also 3 flat damage with anti-hero 1 and anti-monster 1. So if he goes up against a big hero monster, he's looking at Ren 3 with even his little dagger with 3 flat damage.
Yeah, he's packs a punch for sure. You just got to make sure you kill the thing you're at it before he can get killed in return.
And his passive for Supreme Swordmaster is he ignores negative modifiers to hit and wound rolls for his combat attacks. So you can't even debuff his attacks.
Nope.
It's crazy.
He's a ghost. He's amazing.
I hate this elf.
You don't like any elf, so...
I'm going to throw Gotrek at him.
No, he'll smash Gotrek, don't worry.
That's not true. Gotrek will survive that.
Nah.
But yeah, I think that... now he is on the pricey side, of course, being over 200 points. And for a 7 wound model with a 3-up save and a 4-up board, which is actually really durable. And because of how the teleport works, you can put him in places where hopefully the opponent can put less attacks on him, like usually on the flank of a unit.
Correct.
Or though sometimes he's going to want to be in, because of the nature of his attacks, he's going to be wanting to hit something really hard. So he might have to put himself in more danger if he's fighting a big character monster or something of that nature. So he is a risky unit because of how much investment you have in him, and he's not immune to stuff that instant kills heroes. He's not. Correct. But he gets to pick his fights.
Yes. And if you pick them wisely, you're going to do well.
Right. And the thing, of course, that's crazy about this is that his Valorious Intervention is not a die roll. It just happens. You don't have to, it's not a 2-up something happens. It's not a dirty D3. It's just, I want to do it.
Yep.
Cruel boys have to roll to teleport.
Elves are better. What can I tell you? We're the superior race above all things.
But yes, I do think the Light of Eltharion is a really strong pick, and it's a really cool model. Like, this is probably one of, I talk a lot about how I hate elves, but the way that they have done with the Lumineth Realmlords line of bringing in the classic high elf aesthetic and still adding an Age of Sigmar twist to it to kind of bring it in with the rest of the current universe is really, really cool. And this model really, like, I think personifies that design philosophy with how they use negative space to really like bring home that this is an animated suit of armor, and without like, it's a really cool model. And he has a war scroll to match.
That's a lot of words to say you love elves.
Not going to even acknowledge that. And finally, where else would he be but at number 1 is Archmage Teclis.
Teclis is amazing.
Teclis is a problem.
He is fun.
Teclis is stupid, and Teclis should not have beaten Nagash in the duel. He cheated.
He was clever.
He cheated.
Clever.
Teclis is a cheater.
No, he was clever.
If you see your opponent playing Teclis, they're a cheater.
Not true.
But anyway, Teclis, at a very expensive, he's over 600 points
yes.
at the time of this recording. That means that he really has to pull a lot of weight because that's over a quarter of your army.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes that still your number 1 spot, even if he is that much of your list?
Well, for starters, he is a Wizard 4. Are there any other Wizard 4s in
Nagash
AOS?
is Wizard 9, excuse me.
Okay, Nagash. But Teclis beat Nagash, so we don't have to worry about that as much. We already know he's superior.
Okay.
Yeah, good job. But being Wizard 4, and he has access to both spell lores in the tome, regardless of what you actually chose, which means the spells are really powerful that you didn't quite decide to choose, you can suddenly have them, which is really powerful. He can also decide to make a wizard or a priest, an enemy one, within 12 inches of him, go down a power level, even down to 0.
That's stupid.
Which is incredible. So that little dwarf priest coming up, he gets too close to Teclis, he's no longer a priest. He's dust.
I really want to put a period on how strong that ability is, because many wizards are wizard level 1. There's quite a few wizard level 2 out there. Priests, however, priests are often only priest level 1. Like priest 2 is pretty rare, and being able to just simply shut down a priest's ability to chant prayers is really strong. Now you have to be within 12 inches in order for it to do that.
Correct.
So it's not like Teclis can do it from across the board.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'm thinking of Flesh Eater courts who have a very strong priest character, or I'm thinking of Fire Slayers, for instance, who rely on their priests for their army to function. Mm-hmm. Hellsmiths of Heshut are another one where their priest is a really important part of that army. I think that also Ironjaws too, being able to have their war chanters.
Yeah, the war chanters.
It was really important to be able, like, really strong to be able to shut down that priest.
Mm-hmm.
I think that specifically, now being able to shut down a wizard, of course, is really good too.
But the priest is huge.
But the priest, I think, is more impactful over the larger like view of the game, just because there's very few priest 2s out there.
Mm-hmm.
But even just being able to bring a wizard 2 down to wizard 1 is very, very helpful, because a lot of people will depend on that wizard being able to do multiple things, because wizard 2s are usually pretty expensive.
Correct.
So like, I'm even thinking of like Hellsmiths of Heshut having Uruk Tar, who's, over 300 points, is wizard 2. You're not getting like you're losing a whole lot of value if Teclis can knock him down to wizard 1.
Mm-hmm.
But is that all that this?
No, there's more to that.
Great.
Because in all elves, everything is layers and if-then statements, right? So if you don't have the opportunity to have an enemy wizard or priest within that 12-inch bubble, you can just say, I'm going to cast a spell at 12 instead.
That's stupid.
No dice needed, just 12. Now, it's unmodified, so you can't benefit from the modifiers of Selenar, or if you have the twin stones nearby, you don't get to add that on top of it. But unmodified 12 is still really strong and very difficult to unbind if you're not the frog people. Who are they?
Seraphon?
Seraphon, with all their bonuses.
Well, either that, or if you don't have access to auto unbinds, yes. Or, a 12 is typically not unbindable unless you have a trick. So yeah, that's incredibly strong. Basically being able to guarantee that I'm going to have this spell, because we've all been in that position in this game where you have a spell, even if you have a really good spellcaster with like a +2, or in some cases like a +3, it's like the spell's almost guaranteed to go off, and then you miscast.
Yep, I've had that happen several times.
And being able to just say, nope, I'm going to cast this spell, and it's going to happen. Zinch has a very similar thing with Kairos. He can cast a spell on a 9. just being able to have this spell that I need to have happen, it's in my pocket, and I can basically guarantee that it goes off. That's really, really strong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Teclis is over 600 points. Now, to go into that value assessment, though, he is not super durable.
No, he's not. He is not durable at all. He's only 16 wounds. He's got a 4-up save and a 5-up ward, but that's not going to last very long.
And
any targeted effect will kill him down.
Well, he's a monster, and he's also a monster which flies.
Yep, so you can't hide him.
So you can't hide him. So, like, I'm thinking Kharadron Overlords.
Yeah, they have a gun. They'll shoot him.
But yeah, he is very vulnerable to ranged attacks, even with a 5-up ward save. A 4-up save means a lot of attacks that want to go at him are probably going to get through. So you're really leaning on that 5-up ward, and 16 wounds. Once again, under a dedicated offense, it's not a lot of wounds.
Correct.
So now he will fare better against a melee-centric army because he's fast with a move of 10 with fly. So he can move around the board, and he can avoid combats a lot easier. However, he is much more vulnerable to ranged. Not nearly as vulnerable to magic, just because there's a lot of unbinds and other protections available in Lumineth versus mortal wounds.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's not a whole lot of high damage spells out there that do a lot of like mortal wounds. There's a few of them out there, like Curse of Years now from Arcana is an example of that. But in general, he doesn't want to get shot.
No, absolutely not.
And he has a hard time avoiding that.
Mm-hmm. He's huge. He's
right.
Big.
He's a big guy. He's a 120 millimeter base, and he's a flying monster. So him being able to avoid being shot at really hard. But
there's more good things about
it.
Because there's always more. It's Teclis. He's amazing.
God. All right, what else? I thought I was done talking about the stupid
elf.
elf.
No, you're never done talking about elves.
All right, go on. Great. What else?
So Teclis, once per battle, can just decide to insert a scripture rune in your table. Now, you don't get the effects of that rune that turn, but what's really cool is if you stack things right, if you have a unique rune turn 1, a unique rune turn 2, you pop Teclis's ability on turn 2, then on turn 3 you suddenly have 4 unique runes if you pop your Zenith, and now everybody's getting crits on 5s, 4-inch move, amazing, starting at turn 1, 2, 3, and the rest of the game, which is where this army is going to shine.
So what you're hearing is, if you see Teclis, kill him before turn 2.
Yeah, but you got to find him first.
Well, fair enough. Are we done talking about him now?
Yeah, I think we're done with him now.
Okay. He does have a signature spell, which is actually really good.
But that's not. The other stuff is so exciting.
No, for sure.
It dwarfs it out.
I agree. I agree. That's the least exciting part of him is probably a signature spell.
Yeah.
It says a lot about him. Basically, it's very similar to the previous incarnation of the Bolts of Blinding Light, where he did D3 mortal wounds to everything within 12 inches of
Correct.
him. It's no different here.
Nope.
And he does have. I mean, his combat profile is, for his points cost, his combat profile is really bad.
That's why you keep him safe behind your lines.
But it is improved, but it's not awful. Like his Lunar Staff is his ranged weapon. Only gets one shot, but it's 2s and 2s, red 2, D3+3, so a cannon profile on a stick, and but 2s and 2s, so it's really
reliable.
It's really good. 12-inch range, so it's and it doesn't have shoot in combat.
No,
so,
it is a last ditch effort. Like, if you're getting too close to me, I got to put everything at you.
It is a really good tool, though, if you can fly him up and get within 12 inches, because it's a 12-inch range weapon. Get within 12 inches and shoot at an enemy hero. Hits on 2s.
That's true. It goes to a 3.
Yep.
Sniper.
So he's pretty good at sniping out heroes with that little thing. If you combine that, of course, with, if you happen to be close enough with his Bolts of Blinding Light, like, he could kill a support hero pretty easily.
That is true.
Then, of course, his sword. Teclis is never known for his melee prowess, and this is not really much different here. 3s and 3s with 2 attacks. Ren 2, which is pretty impressive.
It is nice.
With only D3 damage. So you're not going to ask a lot to do the sword to do a lot of heavy lifting.
No, it's a slot machine there.
And then of course, Selenar has 5 attacks with 3s and 3s. So not 2s, 3s to hit, which is nice for a monster, but not the usual 2s that you see to wound from a monster. With 2 rend, which is great, and 3 flat damage. So Selenar can actually do a decent amount of work. But nothing special. It was worth mentioning too that sort of Teclis does have crit mortal, but since it only has 2 dice, it's kind of, if it goes off, it goes off. It's not, you're not depending on those crit mortals to happen.
No, you're not relying on Teclis to do melee damage. You're relying on him to support the rest of your army with his spells and his debuffs to your enemy.
Because a lot of his stuff does interact within 12 inches, he will find himself in combat at some point. Like, he can't avoid it forever.
No.
And of course, he does benefit from all the battle scripture stuff too. So
yeah, like I said, turn 3, your army will sing.
Right.
And it's gonna be so much fun.
So I think even despite his high points costs and the high investment, I do think the number 1 spot for him, like, is just an incredible war scroll. And I really can't think of another Lumineth war scroll that belongs in that spot other than Teclis, which I'm sure he would approve of.
Of course, he would.
I hate Teclis. He's awful. He's a problem causer in the mortal realms.
He's had some unfortunate accidents.
Oh, that's what we're going to call it.
Yes,
okay.
that's what we're going to call it.
Fine. Yeah, accidents. All right. But that said, that's our top 5 picks for this illuminated tome. Let us know what you think in the comments. And as always, if you like this content and want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.
See ya. Go elves.
Hate elves.
Elves are amazing.